Hey everybody, welcome in to The Point. We're doing well on this Wednesday evening, hump day, and we have so much to dive into today with the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs ongoing, NBA postseason. We finally have some interesting games, so excited to get into that. And we also have the NFL draft starting tomorrow. And that's under the radar, although I've been listening to so much podcast material on it this week. It's kind of, you get the playoffs started, NHL, NBA, they have their moment, but the ratings tomorrow night will be on fuego for the NFL. There's so much intrigue, in particular at the top of the draft. So we're going to look at that later on in the program, so stay tuned for that. But the Stanley Cup playoffs have started. That's what Monday night signaled to me. Over the weekend, the NHL and NBA had games. I consumed all of them. I enjoyed them, you might say. I watch everything. I don't root for teams, so I don't have an interest one way or the other of which way it goes. But you watch the games and go, okay, there were games. And yeah, it's Boston, Toronto was interesting for 25 minutes, but then Boston cruise control, and they kicked their ass. Tampa, Florida, good defensive battle. They win game one. You look around. Vancouver was an interesting game. That was my favorite game of game ones from over the weekend. Winnipeg, Colorado was incredibly intriguing. So that was a good start. But you want every series to have some juice. Every series to feel like you have that moment where you watch it and go, okay, we're started here. The playoffs are ongoing. There's hits, there's fights, there's hatred, and there's goals and all kinds of crazy stuff. And to me, Monday, for I'd say probably 90% of the population, is their least favorite day of the week. I love Mondays, personally. I like a Monday. I like working on a Monday. If you're working a schedule and you can either have a Friday off or a Monday off, I'll take a Friday off every time. Just because I like Monday, because that's the signal to start your week. You start a Tuesday, it's weird. Okay, it's a 4-day week. I'd rather work 5 and have that feel of a Monday. But 90% of the world's unlike me, and they hate a Monday. So Monday night sports night is it's a snooze fest. People are tired. Maybe their kids had a bad day, whatever. Your kids running around. I always blame kids because why not? You have stuff going on. Big weekend, maybe a couple cold pops, a couple 2 liters of pop, and you're just, yeah, okay, I might watch a period and a half of the Leafs, or I might watch a period and a half of some other team that I might like, or it's on TV, so I'll throw it on. I don't know if The Bachelor is still on Mondays. Might have still some chicks watching that piece of shit of a show sometimes. But all that being said, Monday's a bit of a snoozer. Monday, April 22nd, Earth Day, was a great sports night. You had the Leaf-Bruins game, incredibly intriguing, back and forth. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about tonight's game momentarily. You also had, at the same time, Knicks 76ers. That was incredible, dramatic. Knicks find a way to win. Ben Stiller's going crazy. Carmelo Anthony's in the Mecca. Loved it. Then you go from that to you get Nuggets Lakers that ends at like 2:30 in the morning, but I watched it. Incredible finish. Jamal Murray, Canada, game winner. Just a straight bucket. Golden Knights. Mark Stone scores the first goal of the game to piss off everybody. Everybody hates Vegas. They beat Dallas. Edmonton, Connor McDavid with a 5-assist virtuoso performance. It was something else. And a lot of those teams we get again tonight. Boston heads back to Toronto for Game 3. Austin Matthews had one of his best playoff games ever on Monday. I'm not going to say it's his best because I'm pretty sure he's had a hat trick in a playoff game before. And saying that it was his best a day after seeing him do it is a bit hyperbolic. And I'll save that for the likes of Joe Bowen and other Leafs people that know that better than me. All I know was that on Monday he was the best player on the ice by a wide margin. He dominated the game. He attacked. And he just refused to go back home down 2-0. Many instances in the past, teams with Austin Matthews included, the Maple Leafs would falter. They'd fither out. They'd lose. Down 1-0 early. Oh, we're going to lose again. We give up a horrible goal before the end of a period that don't know how they let that happen, but they did. Disallowed goal that was the correct decision. Bertuzzi high-sticked it. Yarncroke, they think he scores. I don't know how they ever reviewed that, but thanks, video review, for wasting whatever that was, 2.5 minutes of my valuable time. But they overcame it. He put the team on his back and said, we are not losing tonight. I will do what it takes. It's not going to overtime. We're not playing extra. We're going home to bed. We're going back to Toronto with the split, which is exactly what they needed. First time beating Boston in 8 attempts. They still haven't scored first against Boston this year, which is crazy. They got a lead against Boston for the first time this year in 6 games. So they did what they had to do. Ilya Samsonov was extremely sharp, made some impressive saves down the stretch. He was dialed in. He feels good about himself. The team feels good about their game. If you're a Leaf fan, I think if you're the Leafs brass, you should feel good about yourself because I think, for the most part, they've been the far superior team over 120 minutes. 5-on-5 hasn't really been particularly close. You look at the lines, if you're just matching them up, the Bruins are chasing a defensive pair to stop Austin Matthews. And while that is nothing new, that's been happening since the dawn of ice and a stick and a puck. Toronto doesn't do it because, to be fair, Toronto doesn't have the defense core to really make you want to do it. But you need to do it because you don't trust your others to contain it. You have to have a certain defensive center. You'd like to have Charlie Coyle on the ice against Austin Matthews. Interesting. When that doesn't happen, when the defensive pair you want's not on the ice, it can be problematic. Can create some confusion. Austin Matthews gets a game-winning goal. Charlie McAvoy and Matt Grzelcyk are on the ice. Oddly enough, Matt Grzelcyk is a healthy scratch for Game 3, out of the lineup tonight. Mason Lohrei will draw in and play his first career Stanley Cup playoff game. Looking even more down the line, other than the third line, who's been given a lot of praise by some. I've listened to some podcasts. I think their third line is their worst line. Was it more productive than Game 1? Sure, but it's hard to be worse. But they were. Second line matching up. Tavares is what he is. We're going to talk about Mitch Marner in a second. I don't think he's been particularly good. But actually, let's stick on that. I think Toronto and Boston can look at 2 players going into tonight's game and go, we need more. And obviously, it's Mitch Marner for Toronto. That's well documented. And it's David Pastrnak for the Boston Bruins. David Pastrnak, while he's got a goal and he had an assist on the empty netter in game 1, 5-on-5 has not been that productive. He's not creating like he usually does. He looks a little indecisive. And he can be a hell of a lot better. He's one of the best wingers in the league, 100 points multiple times. He's won a Rocket Richard trophy. He's one of the best players in the world, period. They should expect more from David Pastrnak. There isn't the Bergeron. There isn't the Krejcis to shoulder the load, to bear the burden of what the Bruins roster and what the Bruins team is currently. He hasn't been all that dangerous. I think Marchand's been really effective through 2 games. You notice him when he's on the ice. His line's been better than David Pasternak's. And when you don't have the resources that you did in the past, your team's not as deep as it was. You expect your best player to be your best player. And I think David Pastrnak needs to be better. Maybe he's not scoring a hat trick tonight in a Bruins win, but be more noticeable 5-on-5. Have more of an impact on the game. And I don't think we've seen that so far from him. Juxtaposing that, you look at Mitch Marner, who has been quiet as a church mouse through 2 games. He's definitely the most talked about man in Toronto. It's funny because he's polarizing because I don't think a lot of Leaf fans like him. And I could see that for some reason, but he's also one of the best players in franchise history. I think for Mitch Marner, acceptance is a hard thing to do, but it's necessary in life going through a lot of different situations. To me, it's obvious. Mitch Marner likes playing with Austin Matthews. I think Austin Matthews likes playing with Mitch Marner as well. But it's not for the betterment of your team. You get to play with one another on the power play. And it's not about getting your cookies, so to speak, getting points. It's about overall making an actual run at a Stanley Cup, which the Leafs have never done. Winning one round does not constitute you as a Stanley Cup contender, as a Stanley Cup threat. You're not, because you have to win 3 more rounds to win it. He has to accept that for right now, it can change, and Sheldon Keefe loves to change his lines. For right now, you are playing with John Tavares, and you have to make the most of it. They don't have great chemistry, but I also think you can give a shit more, working for pucks, creating scoring opportunities. John's not as fast as Austin. He has his limitations. But you're one of the best wingers in the world. You're creative. You're one of the best passers. Make it happen. Make it work with John Tavares. Because while he's not what he used to be, he's not a plug either. He can still play. Scored the tying goal on Monday night. But accept who your line mates are. Accept that it's not going to change. And look at it in the positive way and try to make it work and try to be productive. Because it hasn't through 2 games. They've been a line that you don't notice 5-on-5. That do anything that creative or that would make their opponent fear anything. Austin, I think, has been great through 2 games. The second best Leafs forward through 2 games has been Max Domi. I think he's been great. Gets the first goal of the game the other night. Gets the primary assist on Austin Matthews' game winner. On that really kind of He's throwing a pass up in the air, hoping Austin can grab it and go with the puck, and it worked out. Max is sure he's taking penalties, but he's involved physically, pissing off the opponent, getting in their grill, whatever verbiage you want to use. I think Max has been dialed in. He's playing his role, and he's playing better than maybe anybody really ever expected. But the Brad Treliving guys, so to speak, Bertuzzi, Domi, Edmondson at the trade deadline, have all been really productive Leafs. Have all really been guys that you look at and go, their play matters. They're helping our team. Dennis Malgin was not going to help the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs. These are big guys that are making a difference. For Toronto, I think it's covering up mistakes, the glaring ones, that play off the draw can't happen ever. That was a brain meltdown, and it's just an inexcusable play. It's peewee stuff, not knowing your assignments off a face-off draw. Period. End of story. There's no explanation for that goal going in. Say Samsonov shouldn't have let it go through your body. Okay. Pastrnak shouldn't have been wide open. That can never happen. That kind of a play off a draw is peewee stuff. Other than that, I thought the other night they played really well. And I think Boston's pressing a little bit. Boston, their fourth line is dominated by the Leafs' fourth line. Because to me, if William Nylander, and that's another if, skated with the extras today, was out there for extra time, Sheldon Keefe says he may play tonight, he may not. Here's a prediction for you. If William Nylander comes in, the player coming out is not a fourth line guy. It's not going to be Connor Dewar. Nope. It's not going to be Ryan Reeves. Nope. It's not going to be David Camp. Nope. It's going to be Nick Robertson or Pontus Holmberg, and I'm banking on it being Nick Robertson because he's a winger. And he's not as productive. And he's small. And he doesn't help the team. That fourth line's staying together. Every shift, they go out there against the opposing team's fourth line. That's the only that's the only line they have to be better than. And they dominate the big rig, and they dominate Jakub Blacko, and they go up against that line, and they hem them in every time. And they hit the opposing defense. They make it a tough shift for them, and it creates momentum for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think if you're Sheldon Keefe, you're thrilled with that line through 2 games. They can't be better. They're not taking stupid penalties. Good shifts, correct shift length. No big errors. This William Nylander debacle. That's what I'm calling it. I don't know. I understand not talking about injuries in the playoffs. However, I will say, Sam Bennett has a wrist injury. It's not broken, but he's got a wrist injury. That was made aware by the Florida Panthers today. Florida Panthers are up 2-0. Florida Panthers were in the Stanley Cup final last year. Florida Panthers know what it's like to go through the playoffs. They exposed an injury to Sam Bennett. We know what it is. He's out at least a week. They made that aware to the public, to Tampa, but to everybody. We don't know what's wrong with Bill Nylander. I've read a report, but it's not by a Friedman or a Dreger or any of these guys, the normal Clash of Clans, that it's a head injury, that he's got a concussion. Well, if he's got a concussion, I understand not releasing that. But also, a guy's not going to go hit you in the head, and that's just not the game anymore. You're not targeting a guy's head hoping to give him CT, hoping to give him another big concussion. If you get hit, you get hit. Hell, Matthew Nyes got killed about 8 times in Game 2. He got hit hard in that game. McAvoy lined him up. and he got crushed by Pasternak, he could have a concussion, for all we know. But your hits are hits. They're going to come when players have the chance to lay one on you. The fact that he skated extra time with the Noah Gregors and their extra defense, Giordano, tells me he's not playing tonight in Game 3. And if he doesn't play tonight, they don't play tomorrow. They get the extra day off Friday because they want to put the Leaf game on hockey night on Saturday. So they get 2 days off after tonight if he doesn't play. The way it sounded, I don't think he'll play tonight. Likely be in for Game 4 on Saturday. But the way they're handling this, like I said the other day, it's petulant. It's stupid. But that's the way they're choosing to handle it. And we'll see how it plays out for them. Jakub Lako's out for the Bruins tonight. James Van Riemsdyk, the former Toronto Maple Leaf, draws in. Andrew Peeke is injured, left the game. He's out for a couple weeks. Parker Wotherspoon comes in for him. Mason Lohrei comes in for Matt Grzelcyk. Lohrei will play with Charlie McAvoy on their top defensive pair tonight. Sounds like no changes for the Maple Leafs. Same lineup as their winning lineup, other than if Bill Nylander can come back in, but otherwise it'll be the same lineup as Game 2. Oh, Boston. Game 2, they go at Linus Ullmark. After Swayman was great and won Game 1. They did not lose Game 2 because of Linus Ullmark. To be clear. They didn't. However, I don't like going back and forth. I don't like you start a guy Saturday, doesn't play Monday, now he's going to play Wednesday. So it's more time for him sitting around. A goalie wins, then he gets slapped on the wrist saying, you're not going to play, but you were great for us. We're going to go with the other goalie. I just think that sends the wrong message. I get it. They've done it 28 games in a row. 28 regular season games are not the equivalent of one playoff game. Sorry. Maybe to the San Jose Sharks it is. Maybe to the Ottawa Senators it is because that's the only games they play. Montreal, sure. Regular season games are the creme de la creme because that's all you get. Because you're not good enough to stick around to the next thing. Going from goalie to goalie. I could see you flip from Swayman to go to Ullmark if you lost 5-1. If you were the Leafs and go, maybe we should go Joe Wall in Game 2. They didn't do that. The team that won says we're going to Linus Ullmark, but they have their system. They have their strategy. I'm sure they have all kinds of sports metrics and all kinds of numbers and crap to tell us why this is the right thing, because that's the way shit is done nowadays. I think it's idiotic. It's stupid. It's wrong. Swayman's going to go tonight. If they win, do they go to Swayman again? Do they buck the trend? Or do they go back to Ullmark? If you lose, it's easy. Oh, we're going back to Ullmark. Because that's our system. But if he wins again, do they go with this idea? Pick a guy. This is like in an election, and you're like, I don't know which way I'm going to go. And then you end up voting for Jagmeet Singh. You might as well vote for nothing. You might as well vote. They're never going to win. It's like pissing down wind. It's going to come back and hit you in the face. Make a decision. Who is your guy? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I mean, come on. Bodes well for Toronto, that's all I'll say. Tonight's game, Leafs at home, feeling good about themselves. Hopefully the library has some noise in there tonight in Toronto. I expect the Leafs to win tonight. I expect the Leafs to win. Better 5-on-5 team. Stay out of the box. You'll be okay. Simple as that. But should be fun. Game 3 in Toronto tonight. Speaking of injuries, Thatcher Demko sitting at work yesterday, plugging along, and I see something come up. Thatcher Demko out for Game 2. May miss the rest of the series for the Vancouver Canucks. Had just come back from an injury. Played a couple games before the end of the regular season. Played in Game 1. Was phenomenal. Made a fantastic save in the third period to keep it close. And Vancouver takes it 4-2. All good. But then we see this. Oh, Demko got hurt. Can't go. Casey DeSmith is now goalie 1 for the Vancouver Canucks. I don't know if it was the injury, but I'm going to lump it in. The news, the injury, the aura of the Canucks wore off, and they played a really uninspired, lazy crap of a game last night in Game 2. They lose 4-1 to Nashville. They had 5 shots halfway through the game. That's not an overreaction, by the way. They had 5 shots. And through 2 games, their best players have been zombies. It was a bit of a sleeper last night. Nashville had 15 shots. 3 went in. And you had Vancouver had 18 shots total. Woof. But the best players for the Vancouver Canucks were just nothing. Elias Pettersson played 20 minutes. 3 hits, didn't have a shot on goal. Lindholm didn't have a shot on goal. Dakota Joshua, my guy, had 8. Thank God for him. 8 of their 18 shots came from Dakota Joshua. Go through this. Quinn Hughes had 3. Thank God for him. But look, Quinn Hughes -2, Lindholm -2, Hronek -2, Elias Pettersson -3. Their best players were trash, and their best players have been pretty terrible through 2 games. Elias Pettersson looks uninspired. Pointless through 2 playoff games. 5 hits, averaging 19 minutes a night. 55% the face-offs. But he doesn't even look like he wants to play. He doesn't look like he's interested. He's one of the best players in the game, and he's nowhere to be seen on the ice. There's no drive. There's no will to get to the dirty areas and make things happen. Nashville didn't play great last night, but I think they were happy with the game. Forsberg had 2 points. He's the driving force. You had Beauvillier, Colton Sissons, 2 guys, depth pieces. Kiefer Sherwood gets the empty netter. The bottom of the lineup found success for the Nashville Predators. But Vancouver were just dreadful. Brock Besser, 2 playoff games, 1 point, but not a factor. JT Miller, excellent regular season. Vancouver's best player, 1 point through 2 games. Nowhere really to be seen. Quinn Hughes was awesome in game 1. Not so much in game 2. I mean, Nikita Zadorov's their only goal scorer last night. Big, physical, defensive defenseman. That means you're not going to win many games, and he's your driving force of your offense. If you're Nashville, I think you're pretty stoked. You go home with the split. Saros looked fantastic in both games. Forsberg, you can make the argument's been the best player in the series so far. Vancouver may or may not have their number 1 goaltender for the rest of their series. So that gives you a much better chance of finding a way to win this series. And you feel good. DeSmith looked rattled. The first shot of the game goes in. Not his fault. Forsberg shot it from the point and hit. Beauvillier got a deflection on it. Goes completely the opposite way in the back of the net. It's an unfortunate set of circumstances, but it went in, and I don't think the team ever really recovered. There were Casey chants at the Rogers Center, or Rogers Arena, pardon me, and they drowned out. Because the team never picked up off the energy. The team never felt it. Rick Tocchet is a guy that will motivate you, will work you to the bone, expects a lot from his team. We didn't see that last night. Felt like a team dejected. Felt like a team that was tired. They get a couple days off. They don't play till Friday. The schedule in the NHL, weird. Jimmy Montgomery talked about that today. Game 3 tonight, Game 4 Saturday. He's not thrilled about it. Don't blame him. It's a legitimate excuse. I didn't take that as something that worth crying over. Probably not, but it's true. Boston's got home ice in the series. But Vancouver plays Friday night, 6:30 local puck drop in Nashville. So early puck drop, got to get adjusted to the time zone. If you're Vancouver, you want the game you played last night, you could play it 3 more times and win the series. Because you're going to win the series. Forsberg's a great player. Ryan O'Reilly still has his moments. He can produce. Vancouver's a better team than the Nashville Predators. Simple as that. And if their best players come out to play, if their best players have motivation, have willingness to compete, then they should. But I don't know why. If it was the Demko injury and it deflated them, because game 1 was not perfect either. Like I said, Pettersson was no good in game 1. JT Miller wasn't that great in game 1. But the third line, Lindholm, Garland, Dakota Joshua, were enough to kind of raise the team. Get them out of it. But now in Vancouver, Thatcher Demko's hurt. Tyler Myers is on the shelf. He couldn't play last night. You get a couple days to look at the game tape, and I won't even look at the game tape. Just come out and play motivated. Play with some purpose. Play like you want to be there. If I'm talking, I'm saying, do you guys want to play? Did you not want to make the playoffs? Did you not want to put the effort in to win the Pacific Division, to have home ice advantage, to be in this position where we get the second worst team in our conference? That's who we get to play? Because we could have it worse. We could be playing Vegas. Defending Cup champions, they could be our opponent. We get Nashville, a team nobody expected to make it, but they did. But it was just a puzzling game last night for Vancouver. They never had it. They never found it. They never were motivated. And it's a game they want to forget. That's for sure. Because they were ghosts. 15 shots. 60-minute game. National Hockey League. The playoffs. Snooze fest in Vancouver. The Winnipeg Jets blew an opportunity last night. I thought 35 minutes into the game last night, the Winnipeg Jets were playing better than the Colorado Avalanche. They had scored early, which was a big win. First goal of the game, fourth line, David Gustafsson, first career Stanley Cup playoff goal. Colorado comes back, but you're playing tough. Hellebuck's in it. And then you get called for a 4-minute penalty for high sticking. Kyle Connor does. And you kill that off with Hellebuck with big saves. Dylan Sandberg with 3 blocks on that 4-minute penalty kill. And at the end of it, Hellebuck makes a huge save in tight. Puck gets moved up the ice. Kyle Connor makes an incredible pass to Gabe Vilardi. Gabe Vilardi throws the puck in front. Scheifele gets a stick on it. It's 2-1 Jets. And I thought that was going to be the point of the game. We overcame a 4-minute penalty with McKinnon and Rantanen and Makar and Lehkonen and all the players they can throw at us on the Colorado Avalanche. But we withstood it, we battled, and we end up scoring a goal right after the penalty expires. And I'm like, okay, maybe Colorado just isn't meant to win this series. But after that goal, Winnipeg cratered, and they couldn't handle Colorado. 14-16 mark. Arturi Lehkonen scores his second of the series from Devon Taves and Cale Makar to tie the game at 2. Really nice setup. Lehkonen's a playoff performer. He scores. 3 minutes later, scramble in front, fourth line on fourth line, chaos everywhere, long shift for the Jets. They're digging at the puck. Hellebuck can't freeze it. Zach Parise gets 2 whacks at it. He puts it in the back of the net to make it 3-2 Colorado. In crazy stat, he's played over 1,100 games in his National Hockey League career. He's never won a Stanley Cup. I think he's got the 4th most games ever in that equation. Little Joe Pavelski, number 1 with the current players with over 1,300 games without a Stanley Cup. Less than 3 minutes later, just before the end of the period, Josh Manson gets a setup from McKinnon. He beats Hellebuck with 7 seconds left in the period. And before you know it, it's 4-2 Winnipeg. And they never really found it. While Colorado only got 3 shots in the third period, Winnipeg got 8. They played well. They overcame it. Georgiev, .933 save percentage last night. Hellebuck, .871. He's been pretty horrible through 2 games. And Colorado gets the split. I didn't see it coming. But it was a mix. Miles Wood has 2 goals in 2 games. Guy they got last summer. Terry Lackinen, 2 goals in 2 games. Zach Parise finds a way to get a goal. Josh Manson, not an offensive guy, puts one in the back of the net. Nikushkin, who I've loved through 2 games, gets the empty netter from Rantanen and Cale Makar. Colorado won another game where they put 5 on Winnipeg. Hellebuck lets in 4, but they score 5 goals. Georgiev made some good saves. Early in that game, he was still rattled. You could tell he was still thinking about game 1, and that early goal from David Gustafsson, I thought, uh-oh, floodgates are gonna open. But he settled down, started making saves. Colorado starts coming at them a little bit. But I'm liking Winnipeg's game. As I mentioned, I like Winnipeg's game. They're playing well. They look incredibly solid. But they're just missing something. They didn't have it. And through all of that, Colorado's advantage in this series is simple. They have more elite talent than Winnipeg. And when McKinnon wants to be at his best, and he still has more to give to be that elite player in this series, they're hard to contain. Cale Makar is the best defenseman in the world. Sorry, Quinn Hughes. But when you have, to me, the MVP of the league in McKinnon, the best defenseman in the world, Cale Makar, Rantanen's no slouch, Devon Toews is going to be in the Canadian Olympic team. They got a good team there. Zach Parise isn't what he used to be. It's his final NHL season, so he's retiring when this season's over. But he's had a pretty damn good career. Sure, you remember the buyout with Minnesota. But former captain of the New Jersey Devils, was in the Stanley Cup final with New Jersey in 2012. Been a part of good teams. Veteran for a long time. Competitor. Miles Wood, good player. Physical. Will piss you off. Hits hard. Hits late. For Winnipeg, you have to get over the fact that you probably think we should be up 2-0. We played good enough to be 2-0, but in a 6-minute period, we fell asleep, and Colorado just stomped on our jugular and said, we're taking game 2. If you want us to take game 2, we'll take it. Gladly, we'll take it. Something about Colorado, the way they move the puck, it's such a luxury. Because Toews, Makar, Sammy Girard to a lesser extent, but he still can do it. They move the puck so efficiently. It's rare you get caught in your own zone. Or McKinnon will bring it out himself. I just find they pass the puck so well. They're an extremely aggressive team. And I like that about them. That they know who they are. They attack it. They use all of their advantages. And going back to Denver, it's a tight series. It's going to be a long series. Both teams are extremely even. Scheifele, who's criticized often, I think has been really good through 2 games. Hellebuck needs to find his game. Because Hellebuck's the biggest advantage the Jets have. Regular season, .921 save percentage, .239 goals against average, 37 wins, 19 losses. So far in the playoffs, .870 save percentage, 5.04 goals against average, 10 goals against in 2 starts. That sucks. That's Georgiev tight levels. Horrible goaltending. Replacement level goaltending from the Winnipeg Jets. But that's on Hellebuck to find it. Gonna win the Vezina. Best goalie in the regular season. But so far, you look around, you see that Tampa-Florida game last night that was just superb. That was a goalie show. Hellebuck has been, you go to a trade show and you show somebody what not to do. This is not how you play goal. They needed a save in that second period, and they couldn't get one. Simple as that. And when you get a train going down the tracks, it's hard to stop. And that's Colorado. Winnipeg has to do more to establish offense, to push offense, to create scoring opportunities than Colorado has to. Because Colorado has more skill, more avenues to do it. Or Winnipeg has to look around and go, okay, we need this breakout, get in the zone, cycle, create something. Kyle Connor is an elite player, but Kyle Connor is like an NBA shooter that's just a really good three-point shooter. And you put him there and say, I'm going to give you the ball and shoot. He's kind of like Klay Thompson on the Golden State Warriors. Klay Thompson's not going to get many assists. Klay Thompson is a good defender, smart player, absolutely, and a great addition. Kyle Connor is like that, where he's great at shooting the puck. And he can pass. He's a willing passer. But his skill set is shooting the puck, being a high-danger opportunity, and just wiring the puck. Mark Scheifele work to create opportunities, get to the front of the net, be physical, do what you can do to make it interesting, to make it difficult on your opponent. So while I think the Jets have a really good chance of winning this series, so it's only one game, despite the fact that I don't trust Georgiev at all, I think Colorado has more outs, has more avenues to win the series than Winnipeg does. It can go held to a handbasket much quicker for the Jets opposed to the Avalanche. Like Vancouver, they do not play till Friday night in Denver. So Friday night, you're going to get a lot of Canadian content. 3 Canadian games. Canucks Preds 8:30, Jets Avalanche 11, Oilers Kings 11:30. No late games tomorrow, which why we don't know. But it's happening that way. Let's talk goalie duel. Tampa, Florida. Game of the playoffs so far for me. You saw a bunch of different things in this game. Florida jump out, dominate the first period like I thought they dominated the first 3 periods of the series. Fast, aggressive. Sam Bennett scores a nice goal early, just a beast. And it contributes to the other goal in the first period. He gets a goal and assist and 2 penalty minutes in the first period. He was all over the score sheet. Leaves the game in the second period with a wrist injury that I talked about earlier. But they're aggressive. They're controlling the game. Tampa has 4 shots after the first period. And kind of Vasilevsky's under siege. And I'm going, okay, there's Florida. That's the team I know. And Tarasenko got on the board as well. But in the second period, Braden Point scores a goal about a foot away from the net for Tampa. So what Braden Point does, that's what he does in the playoffs, makes it 2-1. Florida takes a minor penalty. On that said power play, Steven Stamkos from his office, top cheddar, bar down, we're tied at 2. Momentum's flipped, Tampa's back in the game, and from then on, it was a tour de force from two of the best goalies in the world, and they both happen to be Russian. Andrei Vasilevsky, the two-time Stanley Cup champion, and Sergei Bobrovsky, a two-time Vezina winner and a Stanley Cup finalist last year. You keep thinking, well, they keep one-upping one another. In front of Vasilevsky, shot by Verhaeghe, stopped. Shot by Tkachuk, stopped. Bounces to Barkov, grabs it with the glove. 3 saves right in a row, in tight, locked in. Back down the ice, I believe it was Big Nick Paul, could have been Anthony Duclair, one of those two guys. Looks like they have a wide open net. They have Bobrovsky dead to rights. Backwards, he shifts his body, sticks his arm out with the blocker, and stop the goal from going into the empty cage. Save of the playoffs was better than Demko's save. And in the third period, 4-minute power play for Tampa to start the third. Florida kills it off. They had good looks. Bobrovsky was dialed in. Then on that power play, shorthanded chance for Ekblad. Breakaway down the ice, stops Aaron Ekblad. Both goalies were phenomenal. Both goalies deserved to win the game, but only one did, because this game became the first overtime game of the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs, and it was the longest to get to an overtime game in NHL history. It took 12 games to get to an overtime game, which is a lot. Overtime's a usual thing in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But in overtime, Florida's got a lot of clutch players. Matthew Tkachuk had 3 overtime winners just in the postseason last year. Barkov is an overtime winner. Oliver Ekman-Larsson has an overtime winner. Carter Verhaeghe had 4 going into the game last night. And he's just a clutch guy. He has been since he got to Florida. Former Maple Leaf draft pick, by the way. Great dumping. Tkachuk goes down, wins a board battle. Sticks it out to Lundell. Lundell pokes the puck to Verhaeghe. Cuts in front of Vasilevsky, beats the defenseman. Vasilevsky can't get over. Verhaeghe goes backhand shelf to win the game, give the Panthers a 2-0 series lead. And it became his 5th overtime winner of his career, which is 1 behind Maurice Richard and 3 behind Joe Sakic for the most overtime winners in Stanley Cup playoff history. Incredible stat that Carter Verhaeghe is on the list with those all-time greats. Swaggy, as they call him in South Florida, he is Mr. Clutch. He's there for them when they need him. They got him as a waiver wire pickup. He's been superb, 40-goal scorer, 35 this year. Playoff performer, can mesh with any line mates. You can find things you like about both teams. Stamkos was great. Still can play. Doesn't have a contract for next year yet, but the kid can still play. I mean, Nick Paul, Duclair, I thought was great. Hedman's always solid. For Florida, Barkov's been phenomenal through 2 games. Barkov's been a force through 2 games, and every time he's on the ice, it seems to be in the opposing team's zone. Tkachuk's been really good. Gets a point on the opening goal, gets a point on the game-winning goal. He's all around the net. He's pissing people off. Bobrovsky's been phenomenal. 3 goals against in 2 games started for him to start the postseason. I mean, they just look like a team that's ready to play, that's ready to go on a deep run. They're going to lose Sam Bennett for a week. That's going to hurt because I thought he was playing great. And Tampa by no means is out of this series. But do they get another game like that from Vasilevsky again? Oh, I heard Bobrovsky can't be what he was last year. Maybe he can. Maybe he can. Because he looked like it last. That's the way he played last year. Phenomenal every night. Locked in. Playing superb. Being Florida's best player. Making big save after big save. How he wasn't the first star of the game is beyond me. I get it. Verhaeghe got the overtime winner. I don't care. This is why I like Florida so much throughout the years. I look at them and go, when they get to the playoffs, they're going to be a problem. They're going to be a really tough out because they don't have many weaknesses. I mean, hell, Gustav Forsling, you might never know who he is. Defenseman, number 42. Hardly makes a mistake on the ice. So smart, so calm, calculated, moves the puck well. I mean, the guy can do it all. He's changed their defense score. I like Nico Mikkola a lot. Big body, keeps everybody honest. That was a physical, low-scoring game, but it was so entertaining because both goalies were phenomenal. An excellent finish in overtime. Great crowd in South Florida. Awesome to see. You get a couple runs where you have good teams. You have some good players. You have some of the best players in the world, which Florida does now. A market will buy in. A market will say yes. My parents were at that game last night. Sell out. They're into it. They're throwing rats after they win. It looked like a fun environment. It looked like a hockey team. It looked like a hockey market. The Miami Heat are going to be out really quick in the NBA playoffs. They're going to watch the Panthers. Carolina, same thing. That building is crazy in Raleigh, North Carolina. They love their Panthers. Their comeback against the Islanders, that building was shaking. That building was going crazy for that team in their incredible storm surge of a comeback. But you see Phoenix fail, but then you see Tampa, great hockey market. Florida's growing into a better hockey market. Carolina is a good hockey market. In particular, you get to this time of year, people show up. People are tailgating before the game. They're in the parking lot hours before, ready for the Hurricanes. It can happen. You do need to build good teams. But in those lean years, they'll still support. Look at Vegas. Great hockey market already. Dallas, not too shabby. They're going to sell out in the playoffs. You know that. We'll pair these two games. Carolina against the Islanders. That was a meltdown of epic proportions. 3-0 lead. Cruise control of the game, and then all of a sudden you don't. And all of a sudden, the game's slipping through your fingers, and you can do nothing about it. The third period, Seth Jarvis scores to make it 3-2. Rob Brendamore's aggressive, pulls the goalie early. My kind of coach. Aho taps in the game-tying goal from a shot pass from Jarvis with 2 minutes and 45 seconds left in the third. 9 seconds later, Jordan Martinook goes down the ice, wins a board battle. Semyon Varlamov's out to fucking lunch, doesn't know where the puck is. Martinook wraps it in. Makes it 4-3. Less than a minute and a half later, Jake Gensel seals it with the empty net goal. and then all hell breaks loose. Islanders take 33, a bunch of different penalties in this game. Bunch of guys tossed. Matt Martin was ejected. If you go through the Islanders, Palmieri 10 penalty minutes, Cizikas 14, Brock Nelson 10, Barzell 4, Matt Martin 14, Cal Clutterbuck 10, Kyle McLean 5, Robert Bertuzzo 12. Everybody was ejected. They had their chance to really make it a series, and I worry that it's over now. Patrick Waugh is shifting from Semyon Varlamov to Ilya Sorokin, which you knew was going to happen eventually. Sorokin won the damn Vezina Trophy last year. He's one of the best goalies in the game. Wasn't great down the stretch. Varlamov got them into the playoffs. Maybe that could be their spark. But Carolina had their worst game, and they still found a way to win it. I give them credit for that. I give them a lot of credit for that. They're not playing tonight. They're playing tomorrow. They get an extra day of rest. Dallas, Vegas. Vegas is a hated team. And I understand it from fans. If you're a fan of the sport, whether you like Toronto, Montreal, whatever team you like, and you're not a Johnny-come-lately fan, you've liked the team for a long time, and you've built roots with it, and you've struggled and lost, and if you're a fan of a Canadian team, if you're anywhere near my age, you've never seen your team raise the Stanley Cup. That's a pretty shitty existence. However, the Vegas Golden Knights are hated because they're cheaters. They go over the cap. They cheat every year. Is that true? Well, no, it's not true. Because Mark Stone is hurt. He's able to come back and play the playoffs. But Tampa did this. Oddly enough, people I hear complaining about it the most, Leafs fans. Hey, Leafs fans, Matt Murray's been practicing for like 2 months. He played a game in the American League. So could he play? Could he have played during the regular season from like mid-February on? Could he have played maybe and possibly healthy? And then, well, if he was healthy, then you'd have to activate him. And if you activate him, he counts against your cap. And you already have 3 goalies at the NHL level to end the year because you were in such cap constraints. And if you knew Matt Murray was going to be eligible, you probably wouldn't be able to get Edmondson or acquire guys at the deadline or make tougher decisions on your roster. But that's not cheating, I guess. That's not the same. That's not the same thing. Maybe there's a difference there. There isn't, but just to point out hypocrisy. Vegas works the system. Vegas sees a loophole in the collective bargaining agreement, and they expose it. It's on Jerry Bettman, Bill Daly, and the crew, alongside the Players Association, to rectify this if this truly is a problem. However, every team could be doing this, they're just not. Whether that's from lack of intelligence, lack of creativity, lack of balls, or whatever other reason you want to come up with, they're not doing it. So when a team does it effectively and has been better than 90% of the league since coming into the league, people get upset. People get their panties in a wad because this team is more productive. This team's better than my team. Mark Stone, first game back. Who gets the first goal of the playoffs for Vegas? Mark Stone. Came back healthy. Who also scored in the game? Tomas Hertl scored in the game. Interesting. Brady McNabb was out for a while. He scored in the game. So, Dallas was a lot better than Vegas. Jake Ottinger was horrible. Horrible. Vegas was 2 for 2 on the power play, which was massive. They out-hit the crap out of Dallas, 55-31, because they didn't have the puck for most of the game, to be fair. But Jack Eichel was dynamic. Marchessault, guy knows how to do it. Mark Stone. Vegas can be dangerous. They shouldn't have won game 1 because they didn't play as well, but they did. For Dallas, play the same game, but Jake Ottinger needs to make some saves. He needs to have a pulse. A lot of pressure on both of these teams, and one of them's going home. That's the crazy thing. One of them is done after the first round. You could say less on Vegas because they won a Stanley Cup last year, but they feel they can repeat. They acquired Hertl for a reason. Mark Stone came back for a reason. Jonathan Marchessault is a pending unrestricted free agent. The way their team looks right now, they're not going to be able to afford him. All that being said, it's a complicated puzzle piece. But if you can put it together right now, win a Stanley Cup as a wild card team, barely getting in against Dallas, to me the best team in the Western Conference, you can beat anybody. Literally anybody. But that game tonight is fascinating to me. Game 2 tonight in Dallas, they need to win. They need to win tonight. You get 3 games tonight. Boston, Toronto, game 3. Vegas, Dallas, game 2. And then you get Edmonton, LA, game 2 as well. Edmonton, 7-4 victory in game 1. McDavid with a virtuoso performance, 5 assists. Zach Hyman, hat trick. That guy knows how to score goals. Evan Bouchard, 4 assists for him. If you watch the game, it's 7-4. It really wasn't that close. Oilers fell asleep for like 5 minutes in the third period. Dubois scored. Trevor Moore scored. But overall, I thought they played well. I thought Stuart Skinner was solid. LA in the first half of the game were just shell-shocked. They were punched in the mouth. They could do nothing about it. Edmonton was 3 for 4 on the power play. I mean, they were just coming at them. I mean, McDavid had 5 assists, and he only played 18 minutes. Hyman had 4 points. He played 18:33, less than. It's crazy what they can do. LA needs to come out ready to play from Jump Street. Cam Talbot needs to make a save from Jump Street. The Oilers are a lot better than LA than they have. To me, I've said this. They get better every year when they're playing them, and I feel more and more lopsided. I don't like LA's chances of competing with Edmonton. If you're going to give Connor that much space, you're really going to have no chance. But you have that game 3 tonight in Edmonton. Should be fun. Tomorrow, Panthers, Lightning, Hurricanes, Islanders, pair of game 3s before a loaded 4-pack on Friday. Other NHL news, David Quinn was fired as head coach of the San Jose Sharks. He was there for 2 years. Did not make the playoffs in either year. Has a year left on his deal, which is interesting because you look at them and go, why would you let them go? You're going to have another bad season next year, which they will. But Mike Greer called it a hard decision to fire Quinn after he experienced 2 seasons under difficult circumstances, but said he decided it was the best move for the franchise's future after spending the past few days meeting with coaches, players, front office staff, and owner Hazo Plattner. This was David Quinn's second time being a head coach. Started off with the Rangers, did not go well. Goes to San Jose. Bad set of circumstances. I don't think he'll be a head coach again. Maybe he will, but I don't think so. I think it's the last time. There's guys that are retreads. A lot of them, Lindy Ruff, still getting head coaching jobs that we talked about on Monday. But I think this is it for David Quinn. From, I think, September last year until now, that's 16 coaches relieved of their job, 2 in Columbus. It's crazy. If you're looking at it, Ottawa, San Jose, LA, after the year, they have an interim head coach. Minnesota has to make a decision. You have St. Louis, who has to make a decision. I assume Edmonton will stick with Chris Knobloch, but again, that's a possible scenario. Depending on how this series goes for Toronto, they'd certainly be on the list. I think Craig Berube would love to coach the Leafs. If not, maybe Ottawa. If you're just bouncing through the league, a lot of teams. Sabres just hired a guy. Red Wings, I think there's Derek Lalonde's safe there for now. Penguins are good. Capitals are good. Flyers, question mark. What's going on there? Devils, they fired Lindy Ruff, had an interim. What are they going to do? Columbus, I don't know what they're doing. Teams are still weighing options. Coyotes are sticking with their guy. Blackhawks sticking with their guy. Sounds like Anaheim's staying with Cronin. San Jose just fired a coach. Seattle, they said that they haven't made up their mind yet. To me, the way Ron Francis was talking, sounds like they're going to fire their coach, go in a different direction. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 10 teams this offseason that could potentially need a new head coach before the start of next year. And Lindy Ruff has already been hired by the Sabres. Because I don't think Drew Bannister's staying with St. Louis. I don't think Jim Hiller is going to keep the job in LA, in particular if they go it early in the first round and lose to the Edmonton Oilers for the 3rd straight year. I think you're bringing in a new coach. Devils, what kind of coach do they get? What kind of coach do they want after missing the playoffs, after going to the 2nd round last year? Columbus, who knows who wants that job? San Jose, who's going to take that San Jose job? Somebody will take it because it's a job in the NHL, but it's not one you want. I mean, it just got outlined for you how the job's going to go. We'll give you a 2-3 year. I'd want a 3-year contract if I'm taking it. I'll tell you that. Give me 3 years. If you're going to fire me after 2 because this team still sucks, I want to be paid for that 3rd year. This team's nowhere close to being competitive. They have the best odds to get Macklin Celebrini, but one player is not going to turn around your franchise. Look at Chicago. They're still in the top 5 for odds again this year to get the top player in the draft. So we'll see. But David Quinn, relieved of his duties in San Jose, they need a new coach moving forward. NFL draft starts tomorrow night in Detroit. Chicago Bears are on the clock with pick number 1. They're going to be taking Caleb Williams, unless something crazy happens, but that's pretty much locked in. Caleb Williams going to the Bears. Washington Commanders, should be football team, have the 2nd pick. It's going to come down to Drake May or Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels, the Heisman Trophy winner from LSU. Sounds like it's going to be Jaden Daniels going to Washington. His agents leaked that he wants to either play for Minnesota or Vegas. That would be his dream scenario, those two teams. Former coaches with those teams, different people that actually recruited him in college. So Washington might not be his preferred destination, but if they take him at 2, he will go. He will play there. But there is some intrigue. I don't think it's locked in yet that it's Jaden Daniels at 2. The draft to me really starts at 3. New England Patriots pick. They desperately need a quarterback. But some have made the argument, you trade out of this, you get a first-round pick in next year's draft. You'll get more picks in this year's draft, so you can get better players. Their roster sucks. Play Jacoby Brissett this year. Maybe you take a quarterback later in the second. They have a high pick in the second round. You can get a quarterback then. Move forward. If it was me, I'm taking Drake May, the quarterback out of North Carolina. Needs some time to sit, figure out some things, but he's got a huge arm, all the talent in the world, a Justin Herbert, Josh Allen type prototype, if he can put it all together. Let Jacoby Brissett play this next year with the Patriots, lose a lot of games, improve your team next year again in the draft. But when a really talented quarterback sitting there, I understand wanting to trade out, but I wouldn't do it. I would take him, but reportedly the Giants really like Drake May. The Vikings, the Raiders, all could be interested in trading up, or potentially the Denver Broncos, and going after that third pick for the Patriots. So Elliott Wolf, their new GM, will be busy and be interesting to see what they do. Cardinals have the 4th pick and the Chargers with the 5th pick. Both of these teams could be trade candidates because I think 4 quarterbacks are going at least in the top 6 picks. The 3 I just talked about, J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback out of Michigan. The Cardinals are not going to take him. They don't need him. They have Kyler Murray. They need a wide receiver. There's a lot of good wide receivers at the top of this draft. Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze from Washington, and Malik Neighbors from LSU. So you can scoop up any of them with the 4th pick if you just want to sit there and take it. If teams are offering you great packages, they could facilitate a trade like they did with Houston last year, where Houston had the 2nd and 3rd picks overall. They took C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson Jr. Pretty good little deal. But now Arizona got some more draft picks. They're picking 4th. They have another pick in the first round. So they could accumulate more picks. They could do more things. Or just sit there and take Marvin Harrison Jr. I think, unless it's the Giants pick for me. If the Giants want to move up to take a quarterback with the 6th pick, I would do that. The Vikings are at 11. That's too far down. I don't think you're getting a good wide receiver there. Raiders are even farther away. I think they're 13. I'm not doing that. I need Odunze, I need Neighbors, or I need Marvin Harrison Jr. If the Cardinals do not get one of those guys with their draft, it's a failure in my mind, and they need to. So if I'm the Cardinals, I'm sitting there and I'm taking it. Chargers need cap space, need draft capital, need good players. Harbaugh, they make a lot of sense to trade. He could help out his pupil, J.J. McCarthy, who was his coach at Michigan. He talks him up every time he can. So if the Vikings, who moved around to get more picks, to have more firepower, could move up from 11 to 5, I think you do that. That would be one of the best scenarios going in. You'd have Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, a motivated Dalvin Cook, a really good team in Minnesota for a quarterback to walk into. Harbaugh, you get some more picks. You help out your guy. He's in the NFC, you're in the AFC, so you don't have to deal with him. And you move down to 11, and I think the Chargers, they're either going to take Brock Bowers, the tight end, or they're going to take an offensive tackle. I think they're taking an offensive tackle. If you make this move, I think you can get Joe Alt, or you can take Owinnahue from Penn State at 11. Both guys are really good. Both guys, one of them will be there. Both of them may be there, depending on the way this goes. Because if the receivers are still sitting there, you're going to have them go. So I think it's worth the risk if the Chargers want to do it. But the way it's sounding, reports are coming out. I'm listening to insiders every day to bring it to talk to you guys. It sounds like 6 quarterbacks may go in the first round. 6 quarterbacks might go in the first. 6 quarterbacks might go in the top 15. Because you have those 4. You also have Bo Nix, who I think is tied to the Denver Broncos. I don't think that they have the firepower to move up, but they might take him when it's their time to pick because they worry he might not be there in the second round. You also have Michael Penix Jr., who I think the Raiders really like, and the Raiders need a quarterback because they don't have one right now. Aiden O'Connell's their starting quarterback. He's a 4th-round pick that isn't very good. He's not the future. Michael Penix has the best arm in the draft. Great tape. Was a finalist for the Heisman last year. Couple bad knee injuries, but he has been injured for 2 years. He'd work good with the Raiders, him throwing deep bombs to Davante Adams. The Raiders need a lot of help. They're not a great team. But they kept Antonio Pierce. Davante Adams says he's committed to playing there. He won't want to be there along with Aiden O'Connell being his quarterback day one. But I expect Odunze, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Neighbors to all go in the top 10, 11 at the most. Brock Bowers is going to go to a team that gets very lucky and take him. Very well could be the Jets with the 10th pick. I think Brock Bowers to the Jets, that'd be awesome for him, awesome for Aaron Rodgers. He's a stud. He's one of the best players overall in this draft. There's so many teams that need quarterbacks. Guys that aren't that good are going to go higher than they should because it's just such a premium position. There's some really good talent in this draft. Some day 2, some day 3 running backs that will go that are quite good. And we'll talk about that more on Friday when we reconvene and we'll recap the first round of the NFL draft. And I can't wait. I love draft night in Detroit. Should be phenomenal. Detroit today, 2 big signings. Signed Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's their wide receiver 1, who is one of the best receivers. What a jump this guy's taken. 4 years, $120. Same deal as Tyreek Hill, but $76 million guaranteed. Tyreek Hill at $72 million guaranteed. So he gets the richest wide receiver contract in NFL history. That will last until Mr. Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson get their new deals. So his deal will last probably a couple months until it's usurped. And then Penei Sewell, who they took in the first round 2 years ago, he's been awesome on their offensive line. He gets the richest contract in tackle history in the history of the NFL. So the Detroit Lions giving out paydays today, and they host the draft tomorrow night. So a great weekend for Detroit. The draft's always fun. Can't wait for it. Also here, Adam Schefter. Bengals 3-time Pro Bowl defensive end Trey Hendrickson has requested to be traded from Cincinnati, per league source. Hendrickson is due to make $15 million this season, is looking for more long-term security than Cincinnati has been willing to offer. This is the second guy to do this because T. Higgins also requested to be traded this offseason. No contract talks with him. Historically, a really cheap organization. T. Higgins playing under the franchise tag. So 2 of Cincinnati's best players looking to leave town for more money. So interesting developments there. 3 NHL games tonight, 2 NBA games, Celtics, Heat, Pelicans, Thunder, Blue Jays, Royals, 3rd game of a 4-game series. Astros are 10 games under 500. If you're not staying close to baseball, they are. Dodgers are 14-11, not playing great, but Ohtani and Mookie Betts are playing incredible. 2 of the best OPS in all of baseball currently. Orioles are pretty good, if you didn't know. Mike Trout has 10 home runs, 13 RBIs on the season for the Angels because his teammates suck, but he's been playing really well and he's healthy. Trade him now. But should be a fun night of sports. Should be a fun night of sports tomorrow night as well with the NFL draft. Be back Friday to recap all of it. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you for the continued support as always. Till next time, I'm Noah Warren. This is To The Point.